All right, here goes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the next episodic adventure of We Don't Know Sports by We Don't Know Network. I'm your host, Ethan Ragsdale, brought to you by the OGs every week, it seems like, Jacob Wolf
What's up?
and Jared Webb. I would point to them, but they're going to look different than they look to me. So my fingers are useless right now. This week's topic, yeah, she's always going to say that, at least when it comes to me. Shout out, Mom. Hope you're not listening to that. This week's episode, what I like to do, guys, and my co-host already knows, what I like to do, because we're a sports show, right? So at the beginning, we'll do a little bit of news coverage, current events, things that are going on. Just briefly hold about a 5-10 minute space for that. And then we'll get into this week's topic. So before we get into the news, to talk about this week's topic is UFC 251 that just took place on Saturday. The ups and downs, we're going to go through every fight. There's quite a lot of fights, I believe. There was 13 fights, I think, which is more than the average card. Average card is usually anywhere between 10 and 11. But we'll go through some of them, more lengthy than others. Some are more relevant than its predecessors, stuff like that. Okay, so before we get to that, we're only going to talk about one topic. All the others we've addressed in past shows. So the main topic is breaking news as of 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time this morning in England, Manchester City, a.k.a. my favorite team, a.k.a. Jared's most hated team in the Premier League, got its 2-year ban overturned. It's breaking news because everyone expected a 1-year ban, when in reality today it was a 0-year ban. No ban for Manchester City on the Champions League. They were initially given a 30 million euro fine, which has now been reduced to 10 million euros, which in US dollars, if somebody wants to fact check me, I think it's 13 million US dollars, something close to that.
Probably more than that. Oh, no, it's 1.13 now. It's actually kind of low. Sorry.
Yeah, I know it fluctuates. But yeah, so what the ban was for was about inadequate, incorrect funding. Jared, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about that and touch on it.
I mean, I don't really know the allegations like all the way, but yeah,
and that's the thing. No one really does.
Stuff.
Yeah,
it gets kind of political and stuff with that, but my only thing was, like we talked about it earlier, is like, do you want a zero tolerance policy on things like this? Because if you do, then you missed the
boat.
You missed the boat on this one.
Yeah. So what we know, right? It's a lot of speculative stuff, and we don't have the intricacies of all of it, right? But what we know as fans and as not insiders, we know that they breached, right? Manchester City breached UEFA's financial fair play regulations and failing to cooperate with an investigation by the governing body of European Football Club financial control body CFCB. Now, what we know for a fact that Manchester City did wrong is that they did not comply with the European Football Club's financial control body, right? That's what we are guilty of. However, what we're not is about the breaching their financial fair play as far as the money. That is why supposedly the 2-year ban was lifted, right? Is because it was not all the way. What's the word? It's the correct lawful term. It was not all the way founded that we had breached the policy, right? Breached. We stated the allegations.
Not all the way, I think it's partial, but I don't think that's the word you're looking for.
Yeah, correct. But the initial allegations, they couldn't find us guilty on, right? So that's why the 2-year ban was lifted. Now, the aftermath of this, right, is Manchester City fans are elated. We're happy. We don't get any ban. We get Champions League guaranteed next year. There's a 0% chance we won't be in the Championship League or Champions League. We're second placed. We're not going to drop out of the 4th spot. It's mathematically impossible at this point because we were almost guaranteed to not be in the Champions League next year. Every Manchester City's fans' hopes were to only have it reduced to 1 year as opposed to 2, right? But it's like Christmas morning for us because we get that back now, right? We get this year, next year, and Exactly. We get away with nothing. Yeah. And honestly, I try to be as unbiased as possible, and I do feel for a lot of fans who never had the chance, right? Mm-hmm. I know sports aren't about participation trophies. I get that. But having an underdog really fight for that, like the Wolves or another team like Leicester or whatever, have a chance at Champions League was really exciting.
Sheffield United probably had a great chance of getting in there. Yeah, now they have no chance now.
Mathematically, they don't?
No, not mathematically. No. I'm just saying, like, realistically.
Yeah. But Manchester United tying today helps a lot.
Yeah, Manchester United tying. Chelsea's continuing to lose helps. And also, Chelsea's last 3 games are Norwich, Liverpool, and Wolves. Yeah. So they'll probably win tomorrow against
Norwich. Is what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's still feasible.
Because Norwich just sucks.
Norwich sucks. If Norwich were to win, then, Chelsea's screwed.
To put it into perspective, Norwich has won 5 games this year.
Yeah.
And they have played 35 games.
And their best game of the year, I think, was their 2-0 loss to Liverpool or something like that.
Yeah, which is absolutely asinine. And I reference Leicester anymore. I mean, they're in that 4th spot. And they got lucky. Manchester United's tied today. They were supposed to, but Southampton's been on because they're the team that just beat us, Manchester City, last week. So they've been on a tear. And I said tear, even though they tied, them tying Man United is great. So that's solid. Yeah. But realistically, Wolves statistically still could get it. They have to play perfect, and Leicester and Man United would have to just continuously, and even Chelsea. In any of those spots, 3, 4, 5, 6, and arguably Sheffield United have a shot. Tottenham, I wouldn't say they're at 52 points. They don't really have a shot. But
only 3
really,
games left. It's really difficult.
Yeah, 3 through 7, mathematically, it's possible. 3 through 7.
I have the numbers in front of me. Chelsea with 60, Leicester with 59, Man U 59, Wolves 55, Sheffield 54. So with 3 games left,
and
Sheffield
they're all, sorry to interrupt, Jacob, they're all 35 games played.
Yes,
so
everyone's at 35 now after Man U's game today.
Everyone.
And Leicester City's also having some troubles.
Yeah, Leicester's not playing great. Chelsea's playing terribly. Man U, this is their first non-win since the break.
Yeah.
Wolves have only lost once, or Wolves lost twice since the break, so we actually could have been...
We have a lot of hypotheticals. The next 3 games, the next 2 weeks are going to be intense. Because if you told me Chelsea and Leicester at the end of the next 3 games are out of that 3 and 4 spot, I wouldn't, really be that super surprised. Because say Wolves win all 3 of their next games, right?
It's a possibility. I mean,
absolutely.
Let me look at pull the schedule back up.
They end with 64 points, right? And if Chelsea ties or just only wins one of those games, and Wolves wins all 3, they'll be above Chelsea.
Because we have Burnley on Wednesday. Then on next Monday we have Crystal Palace. And then we end the season on July 26th against Chelsea.
Burnley, may I just say, their goalkeeper played a hell of a game.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching that one at the bar. Burnley was they were playing really well against Liverpool, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then just one more thing to bring it back into the main topic is inconclusivity with the Manchester City ban. What it says by reports, reading from New York Times and ESPN and the research that I've gathered previously, it says right now we don't specifically know exactly why the ban was overturned. Logistically and statistically speaking, everything that I've stated and Jared and I have stated is speculation, right? With our biasness and all that. But that will become clear in the next few days when the CAS publishes its full written award, whatever. But the statement released right now, today, that we know is factual, is that the alleged breaches were not established and others were time barred. So could that be corruption on Man City's part? I hope not as a fan, but is it possible? Absolutely. I mean, you have to weigh the possibility of that occurring, because I wouldn't doubt it. It's all about money.
It should be as simple as this. You know how much money that they brought in. You know how much money they spent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple math. I mean, like, I'm sure there's other things that play into it. Like they probably transfer funds from their other teams that they NCFC or NYCFC. They probably have something where they legally made the money under the parent name
Radar.
Manchester City. So they probably included U.S. sales or something like that, right? That's probably what they're ultimately banking on. But it sounds like the way it got almost thrown out makes it seem like there wasn't enough evidence. And evidence literally should just be, we see the contracts, the amount of money you spend on transfer fees.
Where they got the money from.
We know where the money's supposed to come from. Just show us that. If you did not keep records on that, then
it's
you're
clear
screwed
cut.
either way.
It's clear cut.
Yeah. And to me, not giving them anything, if it comes out that they actually did do it, and there's not a a bullshit reason as to why they dropped it, let's work under the assumption that they did cheat, right?
Correct.
If this is true, and they gave them no ban and lowered the fee, because they still punished them, so it's not like it got thrown out completely. So they still have to pay 10 million euros. That's not, that's still a fee.
Yeah,
for fucking up. That says to me that they're not taking fair play seriously.
Correct.
And if they're not taking fair play seriously, what's going to stop Real Madrid
or
Barcelona,
other players? Yeah.
Juventus? What's going to stop any team from just doing whatever the fuck they want, and knowing that this is the precedent that's been set?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more.
Grain of salt. I'm a Wolves fan. I really need that extra spot to come open.
But the thing is, we're trying to report unbiased news right here, and so every single person on this screen is biased, right?
Exactly.
I mean, because from a Liverpool standpoint, everyone wanted it to happen, because right now in 2020, we are Liverpool's biggest threat, and that's inarguable, right? That's also, an objective point.
If you look at other
in the
teams
Premier League, anyway,
look at other teams in Europe right now. Man City's playing better than anyone in Europe right now.
Right now, yeah.
I mean, just from what I've seen, I think obviously that's hard to judge against other leagues.
Well, no, I mean you're just reciting. I mean, I watched the report the other day on TV, and sports analysts, the professionals say, I forget who the other one was, but I think it was Oh yeah, that's right. Man City and Bayern are the two teams that favorites to win the Champions League right now as far as recent play. I know you guys said other picks, but what the and I love that. But what professionals have said, we're the favorites to win right now. Yeah, and absolutely. But the last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to our topic for the day is. So the CAS, right, which stands for the Court of Arbitration for Sports, right, they overturned this. The thing is, ultimately, if they wanted money, they should have just sent with a ban instead on that based on money. If they want to reduce the fine, what they did, great. No one's going to bat an eye at that. The fact that you teased, so the thing is, you're appeasing, in sports fanship, you're appeasing 10%. Luckily, I'm part of that 10% and angering 90% of the other fan bases. La Liga, Bundesliga, everyone, because that affects Champions League. That doesn't affect Premier League. It affects all of Europe. So you're pissing off a lot of people. So that being said,
and only 1/20th of England.
Which is insane. Yeah, because there's 20. Yeah, absolutely.
You're appeasing to very small.
You can say 1/60th because you have champions. You have the championship 1 and 2. So you have a lot of teams who are fighting for promotion. Whatever. Granted, we're at the top of that, but still, nonetheless, the thing is what they did wrong, in my opinion. If they had the possibility, no one even thought of the possibility of having 0 years, because we know how NFL works. You're banned 10 games. I appeal. Okay, you get 6. Okay, you get 8. It's never overturned completely.
More information came out that makes you look a little bit better, so we'll give you
that. Never happens, right? By the CIS doing this, as a Man City fan, they shot themselves in the foot, because if they ever do this in the future, it looks good for us now. We get to play, but it's going to shit the bed for us. Oh, Manchester City got what Jared said earlier. Got favoritism. They got biased. Because if Liverpool does this, they get a potential 2-year ban. They overturn it. They get 1 year, which is what we hope for. They get 1 year. It's going to be a riot. Manchester City got 0. How come we don't when the same thing happened? That's the problem. So I'm happy now, but that sets the precedent in the future. That's going to allude to a shitstorm. So 100%. I just hope this never happens again. The CS never has to get involved, so this doesn't occur. It's good for us for the next 2 years, but man, if this happens 5-10 years down the line, I don't really have anything to say,
because you know that it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. Someone is going to try and push that boundary. And they're gonna get caught. That's that's how sports work. Look at the Patriots. That's why they win. They push the boundary of what's legal in a game.
Of course, exactly. It's like they push it. They don't do anything too over the top, but they push it just enough to where they might get pinched.
What Dave Chappelle said, "Sorry, officer, I didn't know I couldn't do that." Yeah, that's
I'd rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Exactly. You know what you're doing, and you know that you did it with the intention of trying to one up your opponent. Look at competitive cycling. Everyone cheats in competitive cycling, except for the poor asshole in the back.
Yeah, of course.
And that's just how it works. It sucks, and it completely tarnishes the whole the spirit of the sport to be cheating like that. But ultimately, front of office, they're playing sports too, and their sport is political.
100%.
And they're trying to outgame their opponents. And this is how they do it, by pushing numbers around where they're not supposed to be, or where they could be from. And in that sense, I understand, and I'm kind of for that. If that's what the report comes out and says, they didn't do anything illegal because they have their name the way the rule's written, maybe the money just has to be made under the parent name of Manchester City, and it came from a different country, but they moved it into their account. That's fine. I actually give them props for outthinking everyone else on that.
Yeah,
it's a cheap move, but that no one else can really do, but it works. I mean,
we got by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
My thing is, last thing, and before we move on, the money is the ultimate drive point. We don't watch soccer for money, right? We don't do that. We watch it for the passion, the feelings we get, the competitiveness, the wins, all those things, bragging rights, just that true grit. But at the end of the day, the people who put that together, the owners, all that, it's for money. If ultimately, they never wanted the ban, it doesn't affect them. It actually, what Jared's point earlier today said, is that ultimately it comes down to money. So having them play is better for their pockets. Is better for the owners in UEFA and the owners of them. That if Manchester City brings people, brings fans, all that. So ultimately, they never should have even teased with a 2-year ban. They should have teased with $100 million fine and brought it down to 30 or whatever. That's where it should have started.
Because
we wouldn't even care at that point. What does money mean to us? If you're really into the intricacies and logistics, we can't sign this player, whatever. Me personally, I don't give a fuck about that. I don't like sports for business. I like it because you can be competitive and fight and be an underdog. I like the emotionality aspects of sports. We all know that, right? Yeah. So this logistics, I don't give a fuck. $100 million, that means dick to me. It means dick to me.
And it means something to the front office, which are the people that fucked up.
Well, 1% as opposed to all the fans, which literally we live in America and we know what it's like. But imagine being a fan in England today. Imagine being a fan in Spain today, in Italy, in France. This is PSG fans.
This is how people felt whenever we all thought that the hammer was going to come down on the Patriots for deflating that football.
Yeah, even more so. Thought, I'm saying,
we all thought that they were going to get kicked out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
a lot of people thought that, and obviously have to come out and say, we're not doing that. It's
Usually I'm never in the minority. I'm usually just like a fan of a shitty team that always gets shat on. But this is the one time I can actually relish this moment. So yeah, you guys know I try to be non-biased as possible. But at the end of it, I'm happy. My team got away with I'm calling a spade a spade. If we fucked up, whatever, we got away with it. Yeah. Am I saying it's right? No. Yeah. Am I happy? That gives it yes, because that gives us a chance to win. I'm not condoning it. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that it should have been happy.
But you can't say you're not happy about it.
But no, of course not. I'd be lying. I'm not gonna be a good Samaritan all the time. I'm a dickhead. I want to fucking win. Fuck you. Fuck Liverpool. Fuck Wolves. I want to win. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I love you guys, but I love my team, and that's what I'm gonna.
Like I said, I mean, if we get what we all really want, Manchester United, Chelsea, they'll fuck up down the stretch.
Yeah,
and then we'll get them jumped.
That's the best case scenario. Then that's truly what I want. Because you're my boy, and I want the Wolves to be in. It's going to be really hard, but it's mathematically it's doable.
It's mathematically possible.
You have to win 3 games straight. There's no other options. You have to you have to win 3 games straight, and the other people have to lose.
Yeah, because
that's what it goes down
to. Real quick, I just want to double check that wasn't while we're trying to get Jared back in here. I don't know if he can hear us yet or if he can talk to us yet, but Chelsea has. Just to double check, Norwich, the Manchester United game is FA Cup, so it doesn't count. Yeah. And Liverpool and Wolves. I honestly gotta think that Wolves-Chelsea game will be a play-in game. The way
is that the last game, Jacob?
Very last game of the season for both teams.
What's the date for our audience?
July 26th. It's a Sunday.
Wow, that is in 13 days, ladies and gentlemen.
Sunday at 11 a.m. Yeah. Oh, we got Jared back too. Thank God.
Cool. All right, guys, good. That was perfect. That took about 10, 15 minutes. Usually, guys, we don't know sports, I want to limit our news just for 15 minutes max, and I talk a lot. You guys know that. But we got it out of the way. We know what happened with the 2-year ban. We know it's done now. And, it's just like a court of law. You can't go back on it. It's done. They can't try us again. No double jeopardy. You can't try someone for the same thing. So it's done. It's over with. We're not going to be tried again unless we do something else in the future. But I will note one thing we didn't say. All these allegations, they were greater than 5 years. So whatever we did, we were tried for, it was not within the last 5 years. It was back in the early decades of the 2010s, which years that we don't know yet.
Just real quick, one sports thing I just want to plug very quickly. If you want to hear our thoughts on the Patrick Mahomes contract, check the episode of We Don't Know What Happened, another show that we're doing, just Brian, Trevor, and myself. We talked about that. It was posted on Monday morning at 8 a.m. So check that out if you want to hear what we have to say about the Mahomes contract.
Nice. All right, so this week's topic, we're going to get into UFC 251, which happened on Saturday. I was in lieu with what I usually do. I really don't miss a fight. I can't tell you the last time that I've missed any fight. I just enjoy every single one of them, even the early prelims. Early prelims started at 6 p.m., prelims started at 8, and main card started at 10. Now, this is the first time that UFC fought on Fight Island, which is this big thing that was in the works for a long time because coronavirus, but it was supposed to be in the works prior to that anyways. It's on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. So it was a special place, and it was...
What the fuck did you just call it? United Arab Emirates? It's the United Arab Emirates.
I've always said Emirates, sorry.
Yo, I'm writing that down for a highlight.
Emirates.
Okay, that makes sense. Emirates. All right, whatever. I have no funny joke to that. You guys just roasted me. I got it wrong. Sorry. And I'm English teacher. I fucked up. I've always said Emirates. United Arab Emirates. And no, I could say Arab, but that's probably not the best way to say
it's just
Arab.
just the fact that you said the whole thing wrong.
Yeah,
what makes it even funnier.
Arab
You sound like fucking country bumpkin. It's the Arab
really
Emirates.
Anyways, enough fucking me. Let's talk to the fighters who got fucked. Okay, so early prelims, like I said, happened in Abu Dhabi. I don't know what it's called. UAE. That's it. UAE. That's where it is. So the first fight, right? A lot of these fights, guys, we're not going to go into great detail. We're just going to touch on them unless they were significant. The first one was significant. I will talk about my fight predictions. I always do fight predictions. This was one of my worst ones. And my fight predictions usually are who I want and not who I'd bet on, right? I always say that. It's who I want to win usually. Yeah. So it's not necessarily fight predictions. It's fight hopefuls, fight wish list. There we go, a fight wish list. And I ended up 7-6. Ever since I've done these, I've been doing these for about 5 years. I've never finished under 500, so that's my humble brag there. I've never finished under halfway. This is my worst one this year, though. My best one, I think, was 9-2. This is my worst one, 7-6. So starting off, I started off a fat 0-1. It was Martin Day versus Davy Grant. Martin Day was 8-4. Davy Grant was 12-4. Okay, so started off, Martin Day probably won the first 2 rounds. Martin Day broke Davy Grant's jaw in the first round. We knew that by the end. And in the third round, Davy Grant got a knockout. He knocked him out cold. 2 minutes, 38 seconds into the third round.
1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. He knocked him out cold. And they're bantamweights. They're 135-pounders. So they don't have much power. But when they get gassed, man, they get gassed. And Davy Grant hit him with all he could.
When you watched it, that first punch, it's like it broke his guard. So Day came out for a...
Did we just lose Jared again?
We lost his audio. Jared, can you hear us, bud?
He's in the middle of...
There you go. Okay. I hear him. He's back.
He was in the middle of acting it out, and then all of a sudden he went quiet.
So,
we got the visual.
Yeah. He got his guard broke, so it looked like Day was like, okay, my guard's broke, so I'm going
to... Every time he punches at the screen, we lose him.
I know, dude. He just loses him.
Yeah, you're back now. You gotta quit swinging so hard. You know?
No, dude.
I'm not going to act it out this time.
You're punching the ghost that controls your cord in the face.
Broke his guard, and then Day was like, I got to swing because he's close. My guard's broke. And then Grant just tore him up with that second punch. And
they're guys that this is where they're going to be. You know, none of these guys are ever going to fight for a title shot. They're both in their 30s. And this is where they are. Davy Grant, however, he trained with Michael Bisping, who commentated this fight in England.
God damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nasty. I mean, he hit him with a 1-2, like Jared said. It was a straight 1-2. I think it was a jab cross. I don't think it was an overhand right, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was a cross.
And
knocked him out.
Yeah, Martin Day was swinging, and he just caught him on the right side and put him to sleep, put him right away. That was really solid for David Grant. He was 11-4 prior, now 12-4. Not a bad record, but I would say this bantamweight is the most stacked division right now in the UFC. I mean, you got Piotr Jan, you got my boy Cody Garbrandt, you got Aljamain Sterling, you got Marlon Moraes, you got TJ Dillashaw when he comes back out of his substance ban, and I fucking hate him more than anything, but he's a killer. You got Dominic Cruz. It's the best division in UFC. And then I think second is welterweight. A lot of people would argue with me that welterweight's the best. I don't think so. I think bantamweight is by far the best, but I'm a little biased. Moving on. Women bantamweights, Carol Rosa, Vanessa Mella. This is not one we're going to step on. And guys, I'll say this. I'm 100% all for women's rights and everything within the UFC. But with the UFC, what I hate that women's fights aren't more promoted more. You get a lot of girls that have a lot of experience, but their records are not good. And that's what you see. I just wish that that women were more encouraged to fight, and I hate that because I think some of the best fights I've ever seen were women's fights. JJ Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Wali Zhang, Chinese strawweight champion. Or featherweight, Valentina Strawweight, featherweight champion. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. So, there's a lot of people who are against women's fighting, what I think is bullshit. If they want to do it, let them do it. I think it's some of the fights are amazing. That being said, you get a lot of shitty women's fighters, unfortunately, and a lot of shitty women's fights. And this was one of them. It was a snooze fest. Carol Rosa beat this girl's ass. She was 13-3, and Vanessa Miller. That's not a good record. She's 10-8. It was a decision. It was really boring. 3 rounds of just boring. I mean, I watched the whole thing, but I was just fucking bored. We're not going to talk much about it. It just wasn't exciting. Vanessa Melo is a girl who needs to get cut. If a guy was her talent in the UFC, it wouldn't be, and that's not her fault. It's just it's not promoted enough. It's not encouraged enough.
I mean, the same way U.S. women and Japan women, Canadian women in soccer. There's just those few at the top because other countries don't invest in women's sports for some reason.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't most of the prominent, female fighters Brazilian and American?
Yes. The ones that are middle of the pack. All the champions aren't, except Amanda Nunes, who's the GOAT, the one that dethroned the original GOAT, Ronda Rousey. Mm-hmm. But all the middle tier ones are Brazilian, because that's what I'm saying. Like women's rights, like it's really like places more equality, and that's what their life there.
Value on it because they put value on women's soccer too. Sorry, that's my pot roast just got done.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I wish it was promoted more encouraged more, because I remember back in the day seeing UFC men's fighters talking shit about women's fighters, and they have no place, and that's awful. I mean, if it's what they want, let them do that. Yeah. And that being said, unfortunately, it's just a double-edged sword right now, because we just get some shitty fights.
That's why they pushed Holly so much. That's why they pushed Ronda Rousey so much, because they finally had a superstar.
Exactly. So they'll bite when they can get it. But my point of all this being said is, hopefully in the future this promotes a lot of girls and encourages them to fight and encourage some superstars, where you don't have girls like this who just aren't cut to be there to not have exciting fights. That's my point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But so Carol Rosa wins that unanimous decision. I believe it was 30-27, which means the scorecards, guys, the winner gets 10 points, the loser gets 9 or less. So 30-27 means she won every round. Moving on, flyweight, Marlon Paiva, Zhalga Zhumagulov. So this one, I believe, so I won this one as well. Carol Rosa was my prediction, and then Marlon Paiva was my prediction in this one. So I'm starting off 2-1 here. That was whatever. It was boring. Marlon Paiva, however, has a really good record. He's 20-3. And Zhalga Zhumagulov, if anyone else can pronounce that better, please feel free.
Can you please say that 5 times fast?
No, I'm pretty sure that's it, Zhumagulov.
Yeah, that's how I would pronounce it. Zhalga Zhumagulov.
Hey, same guy.
He was on a 5-win streak, but it was his UFC debut, and he lost. And I had him losing. Roland just has more of a record and more of experience and way more fights. He has about a decade worth more fights. I say decade, I'm sorry. 10 more fights than he does. Not much to talk on with that fight. And the next one is where I started my decline. I had Maxim Grishin winning against Marcin Tybura. Marcin Tybura is a guy who's fought for a while in the UFC. Maxim Grishin, I just liked his record and his win streak a little bit better. He was 30-8, and Marcin Tybura was 19-6. But Marcin has more experience in the UFC. Maxim Grishin did not. Maxim has more fights. But guys, I cannot tell you, UFC experience means more than anything. I don't care what your record is. If it's not UFC experience and someone else has UFC experience, it's just going to be better, right? UFC fights are, it's the best in the world, and it's undeniable. You have one championship, you have Bellator, you have Invicta, you have all of that. But UFC, none of them's even close. Like with soccer, you can argue La Liga, Premier League. They're a little hand in hand. But here,
it's more like NBA versus European League.
Correct. Oh yeah. In my opinion, La Liga, Serie A, League One. Bundesliga maybe a little lower, but all those are pretty much on the same level.
Exactly. Or at least top tiers are on the same level.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Marcin Tybura, he's fought in the UFC quite a bit, and he's in the early prelims. You know what I'm saying? But that was a rather boring fight. No knockdowns. Total strikes were just way outdone. Marcin had 70, and then Maxim just had 50. But Marcin threw a lot more. He threw 119 times. He just won. I think he won 30-27. I don't think Maxim won a round. So that's when I went 2-2. Maxim, I had him winning. I thought his overall record would prevail with just more experience, but I was wrong. So, All right, cool.
The next
Moving
fight
on.
I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we have our prelim, which started at 8 o'clock. Jared, if you want to start us off with Leonardo Santos and Roman Bogotov.
Right, so I had stepped away, and I hadn't really looked who was fighting in the early prelims, and then they were saying Dos Santos, and I was like, oh shoot, Junior Dos Santos is fighting.
yeah.
Everyone
thought that.
It's Leonardo. I was like, oh shoot, he's got a son fighting. No, but I don't think they're related.
They're not.
But dude, it was just a good Santos, dude. He was just giving it to him all fight, and that he got the unanimous
he won
decision,
off the rounds.
obviously. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, sure, and that's when I had Bogotov winning. Because he was undefeated, fellas. He was 10-0.
He started good. Bogotov started real good, but I think Santos landed I don't know if he hit him with an elbow or something. I can't remember.
To be honest, this is one of those it was rather close. The total strikes weren't too far off. I mean, Leonardo Santos threw 181 and Roman threw 155, but Leonardo just landed more. He landed 64%, where Bogotov only landed 50. So if you're landing 50%, guys, that's not great. You're landing half of what you're throwing. That's not excellent. And I
think it's those significant strikes that played into it.
And I really had Bogotov winning. If you have that O, guys, that O is important. I mean, that means you've never lost. You don't know what losing in professional atmosphere is like.
Hey, but that doesn't mean Bogotov can't still be a great fighter.
Of course,
having a loss also.
We keep losing him.
I know. Stop leaving.
Yeah, but
He'll come back.
But I mean, like you're saying, having a loss does kind of humble you a bit. Maybe it makes you train a little bit harder. I mean, you see that in boxing all the time.
Of course. And the guy's young, man. Yeah. He's 29 years old. And he's 10-1. That's a fine record. Piotr Jan is he's in his late 20s, and he has one loss. He's a champion. He just won. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, this was his UFC debut. Roman Bogotov. It was his UFC debut. He fought in M1 a lot, and I think that was all his fights. Majority of them, his first two were amateur. But yeah, all of them were M1, and this was his first one. And he lost, and 10-1's a great record. That's an excellent record, and that's nothing to be ashamed about. He just that's where my decline started. I was 2-3 here. I really picked Bogotov. He's Russian. Those Russian fighters, they're not human. They're a different breed. Yeah. I really thought he was going to give it to him.
It's a lifestyle over there too, I think. Honestly,
of course it is.
It's just a different atmosphere. Like look at what's his name? That dude that
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
You said a lot of vowels and syllables right there.
The welterweight, Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Yeah. I didn't know he had a last name. I thought he was just how Brazilians have one name like Ronaldo. I thought it was just Khabib. But it's just
Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Just born to fight sometimes,
Yeah, absolutely. That's their life. It's crazy. It's just a different way of life. They do that in Asia as well, which is fascinating to me. They pick one thing when they're young and they stick with it and they excel at it. Yep. And that's just absolutely amazing. But yeah, we're getting to some more exciting fights. Then we have Makwan Amirkhani versus Danny Henry. I had Danny Henry in this one. I loved his technicality. He's way more technical than Makwan Amirkhani was. Amirkhani is so I ever tell everyone if I were to ever fight, just my style. There's no technicalness to it. You're throwing windmills and you're hoping to land a shot. And he choked him out. I had Danny Henry winning this one. He's younger. I just liked it a bit more. But he submitted him. I believe it was via arm triangle in the first round.
Choke.
That's right. It was an anaconda choke. Anaconda choke. That is correct. Not arm triangle. Yeah, anaconda choke. So anaconda chokes, if guys who don't know,
I know what it is, but please tell the viewers, please.
Yes, sure, of course. Anaconda choke and Darce chokes are pretty much the same thing. They're with arm in. So someone is in front of you, and you have your arm through, and their arm on the outside is an anaconda choke. The arm is on the inside. It's a Darce choke. So it's just the same thing. It's when someone's usually it's like a takedown defense. Someone's coming at you, you can slide your arm in, and if their arm's on the outside, it's anaconda. If you do it the other way, it's Darce choke. So he won via anaconda choke. That is correct, which was crazy because Danny Henry, I think, had the advantage there. But
would you say that his anaconda don't?
I wouldn't, because that's a cringy joke, and I don't make those. So thank you for that. But yeah, so I was on a decline here, boys.
Dude,
I was. That's unfortunate. I was 2-4 on this one. So yeah, not off to a hot streak. I was getting real nervous for my projections here. But yeah, we're
this is the Dos Santos fight. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. I knew what you meant. The other guy was Leonardo Santos. This one is Eliseo Zaleski Dos Santos versus Muslim Salikhov. And I had Muslim winning this one. I like Muslim. I have seen him fight before. He is, let me double check before I start spouting off at the mouth. But I believe he is Russian. And, he's Russian.
Yeah.
And I've seen him fight once before, and I do not think it was in the UFC. I think I saw him fight on a different card. I'm going to fact check that for our listeners, so I'm not spouting off bullshit. Let me double check. Yeah, he's fought in the UFC quite a few times. He's only had one loss in the UFC, and it was his UFC debut against Alex Garcia back in 2017. So, boys, he hasn't lost in 3 years. He was on a 3-fight win streak coming to the fight. He won that fight, and I really liked him. I like his fighting style. He's not very technical, but he's a dog. I like to describe him as a dog. And I've seen another fighter fight a few times. I didn't go with him. He has a worse record, 22-7, and Muslim's only lost twice. And his last loss was in 2017. And then before that, boys, he hadn't lost in 5 years, since 2012. So, and he's been steady fighting at least a couple times every year. He took a brief layoff in 2014. But other than that, he's had multiple fights in every year. And because I didn't know too much about him, I watched him briefly prior to this fight, but not too in-depth analysis. And a couple hours for the fight I did. But I liked what I saw. Yeah. So, yeah, it was the decision.
This one came.
Yeah, I think it was 20. Do you have the scorecard? I think it was 29-28.
29, 29, 28, and then 27-30.
Yeah, that judge was insane.
What it comes out to.
So 30-27 means you win all 3 rounds, and he did it. I knew he won 2 rounds, so it was a split decision. I do which means one judge gave it to Dos Santos, but I scored it. I'm not a professional, I know that, but these judges really have been fucking up a lot. I scored it 29-28 to Muslim Salikhov, and that's what I thought. It was a split decision, but Dos Santos was no scrub. Absolutely not. I mean, the guy has 30 fights. If you have 30 fights, professional fights, you're not a scrub, regardless of your record. Now, the next one was fucking amazing. We're getting to the meat of it, boys. So let's move it right along. We have Volkan Ozdemir and Jiri Prochazka. Okay, so Volkan Ozdemir, if you're a casual, you still know who Volkan Ozdemir is. And that being said, is because he fought the great DC, Daniel Cormier, and he lost.
He beat him.
But,
I thought he beat him.
No, he did not. No, he did not. He has a significant win. His record is 17-5. He beat Jimmy Manoir, Jimmy Manoir is really good. He beat Ovett St. Preux, who was he's a staple. He's a gatekeeper in the light heavyweight division in UFC. And but he went on a 3-loss streak to DC, Anthony Smith, and Dominic Reyes. But then he beat Ilir Latifi, who's good, Rakic, who's whatever. But I picked Prochazka to win this, and I encourage our listeners, if you made it this far into our show, watch this fight. Watch this guy.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at the highlights while you talk.
Just watch his highlights. Yeah. Jared, if you wanted to, do you remember his fighting style? If you wanted to talk about what it looked like.
Almost like Conor McGregor a little bit, dude, just like
kind
of all over the place, like
yeah.
You know, like basically egging Ozdemir to take some shots, and Ozdemir was hitting some shots,
of course,
but he was just taking them, and he was like laughing. Yeah, dude. But I was like, the whole fight, I'm like, dude, Ozdemir's just gonna get him one time, which is what you normally think, but dude,
his hands were by his pockets.
Out of nowhere, kicked Ozdemir in the face, stumbled him.
Yep.
And then just hit him with a 1-2 and knocked his lights out, like
100%. Dude, no, he folded him like a table, dude. He dropped him, folded him like a table. And I usually don't, I'm not audible when I watch fights. I was like just watching Rocket in my chair with my girlfriend over there, and I said, oh my God. Like it was, and this guy, Prochazka, he was like he was a showboater, right? Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people wanted him to get knocked out. He was doing these things where he wasn't looking at Volkan. He would look over here and kind of like dance and just like just showboat. And I kind of loved it that he knocked him out. I had him winning because I saw his fighting style before. Vulcan, I think, is a little overhyped, and he does not do well with non-traditional fighters. The ones that he lost to are guys who are different. Like DC, he's not a traditional a fighter. I mean, he's a heavyweight, and he has a different fighting style, a little bit of the dirty boxing, the clinch and break. And this guy's not different. I mean, this guy's very different. He's not someone you can get accustomed to. And that's why I picked Prochaska out. A lot of the fighting odds, I believe Ozdemir was a minus 200 favorite. If anyone wants to fact check that, fightodds.com will tell us that.
This was the I can't say his name.
Prochaska.
This was his debut. His UFC debut.
Mm-hmm.
So of course he
moved his headphones and we lost him. He just moved his headphones.
He's back.
Real quick question.
Of course.
Was this? Maybe I'm just. Is Ozdemir just balding on top? Because it looks Because it looks like he purposefully cut out a mohawk because Prochaska has a mohawk. Like that's the way does. Like the original, like the initial highlights look. Like he jokingly cut a strip out of his hair, but I guess not. That makes more sense that he's just balding.
God,
instead of being a complete dick.
So where Prochaska fought before is Risen, which is Japanese. And he fought a lot there, and he fought CB Dalloway, which CB Dalloway, if anybody knows, that's for the OG UFC fans. He was never great, but he fought on The Ultimate Fighter. He's just a lifer, and he fought him before Vulcan. So he had, and CB has a lot of fights. Let me go check his record. Not a great record, but he's got a lot of experience. I mean, 17-10. Right, not a great record, but that's almost 30 fights, and he's been fighting for well over a decade. And he had a win over him and Risen. And I had just seen his fights, and man, he hasn't lost in 5 years. Speaking of Prochaska, 27-3, boys, that's an excellent record. 27-3, that's a very very good record, professional record. You have 30 fights, 3 losses, and you are boys. He's younger than all three of us. 90%. He's 27. Yeah. He is 27 years old. He's got a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize him. I'm not a professional fighter, but technically speaking, you're not going to last in the UFC if you're not at least a little bit technical, right? You have guys like Francis Ngannou. You see him. I mean, he's a great, but his losses are against guys who are technical. He swings for the fences. If you don't have a little bit of technicality, you're going to lose. Like Mike Perry, guys like that, not technical. They just swing for the fences. They got some losses. That being said, he's got a lot of potential. The man has 30 fights and he's 27. I cannot explain how surreal that is. 30 fights at 27 years old. That's like us boys having 30 fucking fights. I mean, that's just absolutely unreal.
I have a quick question. How old did he start then? Like, because
let's take a look. I'll fact check right now. I got it right in front of me. Give me 1 second.
You don't fight that much per year. It's not like
he fought his first fight. Looks like it, unless there's another page. It looks like it was in 2012. So let's do the math. He was 92, so he was 19 for his first fight because he was born in October 14th, and he fought in April of 2012. So he was 19 years old for his first fight.
93, if he's 27.
No, he's October. So it means it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, yeah.
He's 27 of 92. Yeah, you're a dumbass. It's okay.
Because of territory.
Yeah, just make sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, so he's about my age, but a year younger. The man's got 30 fights. That's just keep an eye out for him. I mean, he hasn't lost since, like I said, 2015. And boy, since then, I can't. I love this guy. I can't stop talking about him. He has had one decision in his last. Let me count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wins. He's had one decision. Every other one of them came from a punch or punches. That's absolutely asinine. And it's in Risen. It's not in your mom and pop's backyard promotion.
Yeah,
he fought in Risen, which is fine. That's it's not great, but they're fine. That's a Japanese. Let me double check his Japanese. I know one championship is Japanese. I do believe Risen is Japanese as well. It's just another promotional company that does fights. Risen Fighting Federation, RFF, is a Japanese mixed martial arts organization created in 2015 by former Pride. If anybody, my OGs, I don't mean to humble brag, but I'm definitely a fight OG. I watched Pride. I started watching fighting in the early 2000s, 03, 04, when I was in middle school, when Pride was a thing. So Risen's kind of like a predecessor to Pride. But yeah, I want to kind of get this episode going. So enough of this. Prochaska was definitely the highlight of the prelims, but let's get in. I'm going to try and wrap this up within 10-15 minutes. Let's get into our main card, guys. These are the best fights, some awesome fights. I don't love the outcome, but like I said, I think I was 3-4 in my predictions right now, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, something like that. I digress. So we have Rebus versus Van Zandt. I have a lot of opinions on Paige Van Zandt, and I will make them very brief. Okay. This is completely subjective, and this is just my opinion. UFC sells a lot of women's fights, unfortunately, for their looks. Paige is definitely marketed a lot. Yes. You take it down to logistics, she is not a good fighter. She's not.
So she's 8-5.
That is not a good record. Yeah. And her wins are against who aren't good. I mean, if you're 8-5, you may have a UFC contract, but I'm telling you right now, if they didn't market her for something, she's not, unfortunately. And I'm all about, if you want to promote yourself for looks, that's great. Whatever you do your life, that is totally fine. But if you want to be in a sport that circumvents and rotates around fighting, then that's what you should be promoted for. Not because you're attractive and you don't have that fighting skill. If you're attractive, you want to do that, great. That's wonderful. But I don't like the UFC for doing that just for a money grab. You understand?
I mean, that's why Ronda Rousey ended up going to WWE because, I mean, when she wasn't fighting as well as she had been, then her whole profitability was the fact that she was extremely attractive. And they do that, but
I do think Van Zandt's last fight before this, she might have won. She just broke her arm.
Yes, she did.
After punching this girl in the face.
Ostovich?
Was that the one against Michelle Watterson?
It says Ostovich.
I can't for some reason.
Oh, that's right.
Remember.
I'm sorry. That's Rachel Ostovich.
Yeah.
Rachel Ostovich.
Apparently.
Yeah. And see, a lot of those girls, they're wonderful fighters. It's just their records. They have a lot of losses in there, and that's what the UFC has to promote, right? They don't have a lot of tools. Like Rachel Ostovich, guys, she's 4-5. She has more losses than she does wins, and it's hard. It's hard to have a lot of dominant women fighters just because of we can get into a lot of deeper issues, but a lot of societal issues that come from that. But hopefully that won't be the case in the future, But
with Van Zandt, you could maybe promote, women getting into fighting like you want.
Of course, and that's a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of positives that come from that.
Too.
I think that's why
you have to have someone there in order to have the fight.
Obviously, she is attractive, but
of course, no. But that's a good point you made, Jared, because a lot of attractive women who are like, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. They can be like, oh, I can do that too. Like you can have the two-dimensional kind of thing where I like the way I look, but I also want to fight. That's wonderful. That is great. My only gripe with that, guys, was just about the UFC doing that just for money. When in reality, you want to watch a fighter for their fighting skills. And that's just my thing, is I don't like to a lot of money grabs and stuff like that. I love Paige Van Zandt. I don't have anything against her. I'm saying that they're over promotion of someone. It's just like I'm going to offer you something.
As good as someone else who maybe
it's a letdown, right? It's a letdown. Saying this is a wonderful thing. You see this and you're like, I saw this and this is what I get to watch. It's just a little bit of letdown. Yeah. That being said, Amanda Ribas, not to take away from her, she's a boss. I picked her. I knew she was going to win. I was like, there's no way she's losing.
Dude,
she's excellent. She's like, I texted my friend Kevin. Shout out my buddy Kevin. We've talked fighting probably for the last 5 years. That's the majority of our relationship is around fighting. But Amanda Ribas, she's only lost one time. She's a don't quote me, but I believe she is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. If not, I know she's a brown belt. I believe she's black belt. But anyway, she's the real deal, and she used her jiu-jitsu skills. How did she finish her off, Jared? Talk about it.
Oh, dude. As soon as it went to the ground, I mean, it was over for Van Zandt. Van Zandt's got to knock someone out pretty much to beat him. And, dude, she
exactly.
As soon as they went to the ground, just got – I don't even know what the hold was, but, dude, she had –
it says armbar.
Her arm, like, twisted and just –
I believe audience, don't crucify me for this, but I believe it's called a belly down armbar. I think it was belly down. Belly down just means it – I think it was belly down. It just obviously means you're on your belly and you're stretching out with your hips this way and you're not on your back. The traditional armbar is you're on your back and the other person's on their back as well. That's or in the postured up position, either one. But yeah, I believe that was the W for that one. But Rebus, I told my buddy, I said there's a 0% chance Paige Van Zandt makes it out of the first round. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Amanda Ribas is 10-1. Her last loss coming in 2015. Came in on a 4-5 win streak. Now she's on a 5. She has 10 wins, and 4 of them are submissions, and 3 of them are TKOs. So, I mean, she's a finisher, and she's a Brazilian. It's her life. It's what she does. And she's a personality, too. She's one you can promote. And that's when I knew that was going to go that way. I knew how it was going to go.
It's in the first round, too, early in the first round.
Yeah, of course. As soon as I went to the ground. I'm sorry for PVZ. Like, my thing is like my gripes against her are not malintended. I want her to be good.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of her time and effort isn't towards being a fighter. She really promotes her Instagram. She does like a lot of model stuff, which is that is wonderful and fine. But if you don't spend time being a fighter and putting your time and focus towards that, then you're going to get the results that you get.
I mean, look at Peyton Manning whenever he started doing more commercials.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can all see a
if that's what she wants to do, that's great. But don't expect to be a champion. That's my thing. You look at Valentina Shevchenko; she does nothing but fighting. That's why she's a champ. That's why she's as amazing as she is.
And quick note,
she's one of those top.
The 2 female fights on the main card here, like I said earlier, both Americans versus Brazilians.
Correct.
It's just
And
it's just that's the people that promote the countries that promote it.
Absolutely. And you have these outlier girls that are Americans that aren't just you go to Brazil and their society is just manifested in fighting. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is Jiu-Jitsu, one of the main martial arts and mixed martial arts is from Brazil. It's where, not to get too deep, it originated in Japanese, but it flourished in Brazil. And
a lot of Japanese people live in Brazil too. That's pretty common.
Yeah. But Jiu-Jitsu originated in Japan, but it really flourished in BJJ in Brazil. But so Jacob opened the window for our next one.
There, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Say what now?
No one really doing Capella in UFC.
This was the women's fight that I was really interested in watching. The rematch.
It's their second one.
Yeah.
So Jessica Andrade, Rose Namajunas. Jessica Andrade,
baby.
Yeah, Thug Rose, absolutely. So Jessica Andrade is your typical bully type fighter. She's big, stocky. She's built like a pit bull.
Yeah.
She reminds me just of Claudia Gadelha. If you guys don't know who Claudia Gadelha is, they fight the same way. They're takedown monsters. They're wrestling monsters. They're jiu-jitsu monsters with heavy hitters. They're not very technical. That's how Jessica Andrade won the first time by a slam. She picked her up, slammed her on the head, knocked her unconscious in the second round. Rose, former champion who beat JJ, Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice, who I love. Rose doesn't have a great record either. I think she's now just 10-4.
Yeah.
It's not a bad record, but she was – I love her too, bro. I love her too.
She's my favorite fighter, or I guess woman fighter.
Right now, I'll say she's my favorite woman fighter. I love Joanna Jędrzejczyk a lot
They're
too.
going at each other.
Oh, 100%. Rose is a beautiful technical fighter, right, Jared? You just see the way – just describe it, like her punches and all that. It's awesome.
Dude, she dominated, to me, the first 2 rounds.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I can't remember all the judges' scorecards. Guys with numbers and stuff like that have a bad memory. I know I'm not a professional. I score it my way anyway. I score every time. I scored that fight 29-28. That's what I scored.
What they did.
It went 28, 29, 29, 28.
Just
28,
one went
That's
to
and ladies and gents, that is a what's called a split decision. When you have 2-1, 2 judges score it one way, one judge the other way, split decision. A majority draw, for those of you that don't know, means one judge tied it, while the other 2 had a winner. That's called a majority decision. Yeah. And then a draw, obviously, is a tie.
I'm looking at the number of strikes right here. This was because I only got to see the highlights of it. I didn't actually watch the fight.
Sure. Yeah, statistics tell a different story. What's up?
Just looking at the numbers here, total strikes was 82-79.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's very close. Head strikes, though, 63-31. I think that's probably what made the real difference there, too, though.
And guys, they were not
legs fit was went to Jessica, 15-7, body 25-12, and then takedowns went down to Jessica as well.
Yeah,
it's just
and they were not landing at a high rate. 35% to Rose, 37% to Jessica. Rose threw 235 strikes. That is asinine. That's insane. But Rose is very technical. Mm-hmm. It's your typical fight. She's a smaller girl. She's not as strong. So that in that scenario, that fight you want to fight is where you want to pick apart and you move away. You're not going to throw combos and bunches. Okay, Jared. You're not going to throw combos and bunches, right?
Yeah.
You're going to try and pick and stay away, which is what Rose did. Jessica tried to come in and knock her out. She didn't do it. She took her down a few times. You want to talk about the stats for that? Jacob takedowns, if you see it there.
It says for Jessica 1 of 3, Rose 0 of 1.
0 for 1. Yeah. And that one was she's not going to try and take Jessica down. It was
you can see that, like, just by the way that just from the highlights I was seeing, like, just swinging. Both of them were just swinging.
Yeah,
a lot of knees flying there too. That was
a lot of it. Jessica is never technical, and Rose is, and sometimes she wasn't in this fight.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, that kind of plays into, she won the first time by getting that concussion. I mean,
that slam, it's just right on the head.
In boxing, you always got a puncher's chance, and that's kind of the way that sounds like to me.
100%. And she wanted that rematch, but so I follow Rose on Instagram, and there was a part of her I know that just didn't like fighting. She has a different lifestyle. She's definitely a free spirit. She doesn't like to be tied down. Her fiance, Pat Barry, he's a OG UFC fighter. They just have a life together. She's definitely a hippie, not to put a title on her, but that's her lifestyle. She just loves the free spirit, doesn't love to be tied down. There's a part where she didn't want to fight, and she said that when she fought Jessica the first time. She didn't want to fight anymore. But she said she got that passion back. She wanted that rematch. She wanted the revenge, and she got it. Unfortunately, she did lose that third round, but it doesn't matter. That's why there's 3 rounds for a reason. She won 2 out of 3. And that got her the dub, 29-28. I don't know why the other judge called it 29-28 for Jessica. I mean, that's why there's 3 judges, I guess. I just couldn't see it.
He might have gone by the number of body strikes, too. I mean, if he didn't...
Sure.
I mean, also, see Rose's face was bleeding pretty bad.
Like, there's a picture I posted on her Instagram where she has a big shiner right there.
Yeah, so
crazy big.
I mean, I don't know how much that really plays into it, like, damage done, but I mean, it looks worse.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, and they definitely go by damage. I mean, you look at Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Wally Zhang. I really thought JJ had won that. I'm biased, but her look, that contusion she had on her forehead, dude, she looked like Megamind.
Yeah, it was bad, dude.
It was absolutely insane.
Ugh. You want to go ahead and move on to the next one while we're waiting on?
I do. I'm just trying to spitball until we got J-Dot back, but it looks like it might be taking a little bit longer. Yeah, so the next fight, one of the main ones of the evening, co-main, Petr Yan versus Jose Aldo. We got Petr Yan coming in with a 14-1 record. Jose Aldo 28-6. Jose's a original OG, former champ. After his loss to Conor McGregor, he has never been the same. Just simple facts, straightforward. Just hasn't been the same ever since that. I picked Jose in my predictions, meaning my wish list. I wanted him to win. I knew he wasn't going to. I knew he had a fat chance, and that proved to be the case. Petr has only 1 loss. He's a G. I mean, he's one of those guys who are legit scary. If somebody wants to fact check me, I think he's 27.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. But yeah. So, Jose only had 1 previous loss in 2005, and then he didn't lose again until he lost to Conor McGregor in 2015. And then he lost to Max Holloway twice. Then he lost to Alexander Volkanovski, Marlon Moraes, and Petr. So he has not been the same since he lost to Conor McGregor. And I really wanted him to win. He's a good guy. I did not want Petr to win. I just don't like him. I want someone to put him to sleep. I guess because I love the bantamweight division, because I love Cody Garbrandt. He's my favorite fighter. I just don't want all these bulldogs in this division. There's just so many. You got Sugar Sean O'Malley, like I said, I didn't mention him earlier.
That's my guy right there.
Yeah.
Now, watching the highlights of this, it kind of looked like Jose Aldo was scared. I mean, honestly, he was he was on his back foot the entire time, and it shows by looking at the stats. I mean, total strikes landed by Yan is 258 to 83.
Dude, this is one. Also, ridiculous. Though, the ref should have ended this.
Like I said,
way sooner.
Every highlight just shows Yan punching Josie in the face.
Jared, that stoppage was awful. He was just murdering the back of his head.
There was 3 different times I know Aldo is just like this, and Aldo's not the guy that's going to say stop the fight.
You have to do it for him.
He's just protecting himself. He's not fighting back. And it went on for a while. Call the fight.
It's bad.
Aldo was just bleeding everywhere.
Unnecessarily. Just bad.
Yeah.
Just bad reffing, man. And I think that was the first time I've ever seen that ref. Maybe the last. Just really bad reffing.
Yeah, that was bad reffing.
But Petr Yan is now the champ. But I'll say this. I don't think he's going to be a champ for a long time. Bantamweight division is stacked. You got Aljamain Sterling who should get the shot. I think Aljamain's going to give him a fight. Marlon Moraes will give him a fight. If TJ Dillashaw comes back, fucking Christ.
I think Sugar Sean's going to make his way up there.
I don't disagree. I've liked Sugar Sean for the last 3 years since I saw him in Dana White's Contender Series, Season 1 in 2017. I'm humble bragging a little bit, but I kind of saw him a little bit before the hype train. But the hype is real. I mean...
Yeah, it is.
But is he top 10? I don't know right now. He fought Eddie Wineland, who's maybe a gatekeeper at best. And he gets Chito Vera, who's a decent fighter, but not top 10 material. But if he fights somebody like Cody Garbrandt, that's going to be a contest. But, we can move on. Peter Yan won that one. And Jared, if you want to talk about that
best fight to me, the Peter Yan and Aldo, just because Peter was so technical. But, yeah,
sure. Absolutely.
Got called earlier.
Yeah, and he's one of those others. He's a Russian a guy. This is his life. Yeah. And I can't even say this place he's from. Yekaterinburg, Omsk, Russia is where he's from. 27 years old. Just an animal, man. Yeah, I did. I just said some.
No, I'm saying
letters
he probably just made that shit up. Where are you from, Peter? Don't worry.
The only guy he lost to was the guy with the two same names, Magomedov. And he avenged his only loss, fellas. He beat him. Mm-hmm. He beat him a year later. So I mean, technically, the guy's undefeated because if you avenge your loss, I mean. Yeah. You did your due diligence, and he hasn't lost. But I will say this, in my best objective opinion, I do think he will lose. I do think here soon. I mean, the bantamweight division is just so stacked. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really, really exciting to see. I think he'll be a champion for a little bit, but we'll see going forward. But all right, guys, let's move on to the next one. It's the co-main event of the evening. We have Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we could talk about it all night.
Yeah, we could.
Holloway, short and simple. I had Alexander Volkanovski winning. He actually brought me over 500 because if he would have lost, which he lost, fellas. He lost. He lost to Max Holloway.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it. Like, there's no other way to cut it.
These total strikes and stuff don't show it, but...
No, it doesn't, dude. Yeah. But he lost that fight. He lost the fight. These judges just... truly, I didn't see anyone that really... And I wanted Volkanovski to win. I wanted him to. But he lost. I mean, you can argue me, say, no, Ethan, he didn't. He won on the scorecards. But everyone had it. I mean, even casuals coming out of the woodworks on Twitter. Stephen A. Smith saying, what fight were they watching? Bleacher Report made a whole post about it. Max Holloway lost or won 3 rounds to 2 easily, arguably 4-1, but they gave it to Volkanovski.
I think and the only reason I can maybe guess is because of that control where Volkanovski got Holloway down at one point, but Holloway got out of it, and he
had 9 attempted takedowns. Right? Yeah, he landed 3 of those.
3 of them.
What makes me so mad?
No, 0. So
Jacob, do me a favor. Yeah, what do the knockdowns say on there?
Knockdowns? It doesn't show knockdowns on here actually.
It's okay.
KDs, yeah.
9.
It shows 0.
9 and 3.
But there's knockdowns. There's a statistic for knockdowns, right?
At the very top, yeah.
It says 0. It says 0 for Max Holloway, 0 for Volkanovski.
Yeah.
Max Holloway knocked him down twice. I don't know whether they're not putting that stat in there. Yeah. I don't know what. You saw the fight. He knocked him down 2 times.
Twice.
I think in the first and the second, but I know he knocked him down twice. And it blows my mind why it's not on the stats. And the only argument is people are saying takedowns are mattering more than knockdowns, apparently. But Max knocked him down twice. Volkanovski.
That doesn't show.
Yeah, it blows my mind, fellas. I mean, if you're watching this podcast, listen to this podcast, just go back and watch this fight. Even if you don't like the UFC, like Jared and I or the boys here do, even if you don't, just go back and watch this fight.
Yeah.
And just create an argument for me of how Max Holloway lost that fight. Because he didn't, and I didn't want him to win. That's the thing. I'm completely biased because I wanted Volkanovski to win. I had him winning on my projected scorecard. I can go back and show the receipts. I had him circled to win. And I still don't like it because he lost that fight. He should have lost the belt. Judging's just piss poor, man.
The judges messed up not only just because Holloway obviously won, but if you would have done that, they would have been 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
And then Volkanovski, Holloway could have been another where, all right, this is really who's going to decide who wins this.
Sure.
And it's for another title. It could have happened again.
And I think there should have been a trilogy.
Yeah.
Where Max Holloway. I just don't like it, fellas. Like I want to be as non-biased as possible, and I like Volkanovski. I wanted him to win, but he lost fair and square, and it hurts. But the age-old argument is, do not leave it in the judge's hands.
Oh yeah, that's the number one.
If you want to win, put them away. But I mean, they're featherweight boys. We're all bigger than them, and we're all not huge guys. That's 145 pounders, and I mean, they're not really going to have. That being said, my implication for that is to say featherweights aren't really knocking guys out all the time. They're more strategical, statistical fighters, point fighters. Max Holloway is a point fighter through and through.
And dude, he was hitting him with combos just every round. Just God.
I feel bad for him, man. At the end of the day, I feel bad for him. The man won, and it was robbed of him, and I hate it. I don't like it.
I agree.
But it is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. And it's just crazy because I usually get this passionate when a guy I wanted to win loses, even though I thought he should have, and I had it the other way around. You know what I'm saying? I wanted Alex to win, and he won, and I just felt ugly. I just didn't feel real, But that is what it is, and Alexander is still the champ. And, I mean, you can say John Jones has some questionable wins like that too.
Yeah.
But, guys, we're going to finish up here soon, but let's get into our final bout of the evening. We have Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare Usman, versus Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, reigning from Miami. So we could talk about this one a lot. There's a lot of depth here. Kamaru Usman, who has 1 loss. Jorge Masvidal, who had 13, now has 14 losses. Yeah. The man has 50 fights almost, 35-14. This is my say, and Jared, I'll let you take the rails for this one, my guy. But so if you know who Kimbo Slice is, that's where Jorge got his start. Street fighting for Kimbo Slice down here where I live in Miami.
Oh, really?
That's where he got to start about over a decade ago, right when YouTube came to play. That's where he was fighting on Kimbo Slice's street fights. And the man has a lot of experience. He's game bred. Game bred is the meaning that he's game anywhere, and this week showed it. He lost the fight. This is why he lost the fight. 6 days notice. Right, I was excited for the previous fight, which is Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman. That was the fight. The reason it got canceled is because Gilbert Burns tested positive for COVID-19, who I think is supposed to be doing okay now. He lives here. He lives from South Florida. I have met him a couple times. But I digress. That was supposed to be the fight. They didn't want to cancel the fight. They said, George, can you fight? 6 days notice. He dropped 20 pounds. In 6 days. He says 19, whatever. 19, 20 pounds in 6 days.
I mean, he must have been gassed. I mean, it looks like he was probably gassed.
That's the whole reason he lost. You got it. You can see it from outside perspective.
I didn't even watch the numbers. I didn't even watch the fight. I mean, I just saw a couple highlights. I could see the numbers here. He got worked. Yeah. Control 16 minutes and 38 seconds to Usman. I mean, strikes 263 against 88. And Usman landed 77% of them.
Guys, you don't even need to go back and watch all. How many fights? I mean, how many minutes is it? 5 times 5, 25. Yeah, you don't need to go back and watch 25 minutes of it. Mm-hmm. So I'll break it out for you. Kamaru Usman's a wrestler, and that's what he did. That was his game plan, right? He fought Colby Covington, who's also wrestled. They didn't wrestle. It was a Muay Thai kickboxing match. This one was Usman put him up against the fence, toe stomped him the whole time, and it won because Gamebred wasn't as strong, and he gassed out. So I'll say this. I'll say my piece, and then Jared, I'll let you hit it. So George, if he would have given a full fight camp, correct conditioning, not coronavirus conditions, able to train, he would have had a better chance. Do I think he would have won? No, I think Kamaru's better. But Kamaru's very boring. I do not like him. He's a boring champ. He's just some guy who not very intriguing to watch, not very interesting. He kind of does the same thing. He's not a knockout kind of guy. He's a dominant wrestler, but he's not super exciting. And that's just my 2 cents on it. But he won fair and square. And I had George winning for my wish list, but I knew if I were to bet money, there's no way I'm betting on George. I knew Kamaru was going to win unless George got a fat shot off, right?
Oh yeah,
but
I mean, if you catch a guy in the jaw, you still got a chance.
Of course, and that's where he wins. That's where he knocked out Darren Till. He knocked out Ben Askren with a flying knee. He's been on a win streak lately. He beat Nate Diaz, who's an OG in the game. He has a lot of great W's under his belt, especially as of late. But Kamaru is just great. And my argument for George is he didn't have a full fight camp. He didn't get to train. He didn't have a good gas tank. That's what upset me. And that's my mom's favorite fighter. We talked a lot about him. And it just, unfortunately, I kind of saw it coming from far away. George just gassed out and was breathing for air the whole time. Just couldn't do anything against it.
Everyone watching on YouTube, that is cat butthole.
I love that butthole.
At its best.
You guys like Milo's cat butt?
Just got cat butt.
That made my appetite so big. I'm ready to eat now.
Fucking starving now.
Right.
Trying to get
all right, guys. I know I'm doing a lot of talking for
come in here.
Nice. I know I'm doing a lot of talking for this breakdown. Jared, you want to talk about the main event a little bit more? Do you have anything else to add?
It was pretty. It was a boring but technical fight.
Sure.
But I agree. If Jorge could have, got some more training and everything, I bet you he could have, because he had to drop so much weight.
Guys, 20 pounds in 6 days.
20
That's
pounds in 6
insane.
days, and then you expect him to be like comfortable.
You're
really
exhausted.
At that weight.
You're exhausted.
His body's been through so much already, and he's still.
It's water weight.
The entire time.
He's dehydrated. You can't be fully. You can't fully. If you're dehydrated, this is from everyone. This is a scientific thing. If you're dehydrated, you cannot fully hydrate within 24 hours. It's going to take a little bit longer to be fully adequately hydrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy made sure he didn't get knocked out, submission.
Yeah.
And
he played the best fight.
That just goes for his own conditioning after putting his body through this. So, and that's why he dapped him up. He said at the end, you know what? I'll get some more wins and I'll come back.
Yeah.
But he's going to be trained better.
Correct. I think so. We get a full fight camp, it'd be a little bit better. I still will have my money on Kamaru. If George gets that lucky shot, which he's gotten before, he got it on Darren Till, who I think Darren Till is a better fighter. He's got some knockout power. But with Kamaru, he played the best fight. He did. It's boring. A lot of people don't like him, but he won.
Right.
He's still the champ.
The thing.
Doesn't matter. And a lot of casuals will be like, "Oh, he just laid on him for 25 minutes." Did he win? Got the job done. Whatever gets in him is
the most important stat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people like Conor McGregor. I mean, he's not, out there winning point fights. I love Conor McGregor. I always will.
People,
they like that flash. They like that bang. And Kamaru's not that guy, man.
For people who don't watch fighting that much, obviously they want to see just like
a lot of those welterweights guys are like that.
Yeah.
They're a lot. Colby Covington, like I said, Kamaru. A lot of those guys are guys who are wrestlers, Olympic wrestlers, and they're just they're not really flashy guys. Tyron Woodley, super boring. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, super boring. Tyron Woodley has some great, exciting fights, but majorly he's really boring.
At all fighting, if you know how to wrestle the best, you have your chances of winning are greatly enhanced. If you're good at wrestling.
No, 100%. I say this, and I do jiu-jitsu. I mean, I'm not great or anything. I'm still a white belt and have been for like 3 years. If you're good at wrestling, I'd rather be better at wrestling than any other martial art. I'd rather be better at wrestling. I think a wrestler beats a better boxer, beats a better kickboxer, beats a better Muay Thai. I think jiu-jitsu and wrestling are the best to have, but wrestling beats everybody. It does, because you're mauling. You take away all their powers with wrestling.
Yeah.
And you see it. Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's why he's the best fighter in the UFC. He's an amazing wrestler. He's a Greco-Roman brawl. Just he lays on you. He pressure the whole time. But yeah, we see it. We're rambling a lot. I went off a lot. I'm sorry for that, guys. But we got a lot of input. We got a lot of stuff done. Went through every fight. Next fight, let's talk about it really quick before we end the show. We're having fights after fights after fights. We got fights that Jared and I were just talking about this Wednesday. UFC Fight Night 172. Not a stat card like we just had, but the main event's going to be excellent. Calvin Kattar, my boy from Massachusetts, against Dan Ige. Both up-and-coming fighters. Calvin Kattar's 21-4, Dan Ige 14-2.
Right.
You may not want to watch. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I like both fighters.
Yeah.
But Kattar, going for Calvin Kattar.
Yeah, you can. This is going to come out tomorrow on Tuesday. The fight's on Wednesday. You can come back and fact check this. Calvin Kattar is going to win. There's no other outcome. Calvin Kattar is going to win, fellas. But the only downside is Calvin Kattar.
Said that? I swear to God. Ethan.
Oh, just come back. You're gonna look. You don't even watch fighting that much, Jacob. But just watch. Just
It's
look.
gonna be ESPN Plus though, so I'll probably check it out. Actually,
Yeah, you can watch it. It's free.
The only downside, guys, if Calvin Kattar 1% does lose, the excuse I'll use is he just fought. Let me look exactly when I watched.
He's already got his excuses lined up.
He just fought like 249 or 248
last month. Where I'm saying. So yeah, Calvin Kattar, he just fought May 9th, which is 2 months ago. Beat Jeremy Little Heathen Stevens via elbows in the second round. And Jeremy Little Heathen Stevens is no slouch. He lost a close one to Zabit Magomed Sharipov, who was up and coming. I love Calvin Kattar. I like him. He's on the he's not in his 20s anymore. He's 32, but I do think he could be a top 5 fighter. Truly, I do think he could be a top 5 fighter, and I love his nickname, the Boston Finisher. I have a love-hate relationship with Bostonites. I hate the Patriots, but a lot of aspect of Boston I love. But yeah, guys, the point of that is check that out on Wednesday. Even if you're a casual, check it out so you can not become a casual. Like it's Wednesday night.
Yeah, get me on casual.
Absolutely. Wednesday, July 15th, UFC Fight Night, 172. Yep. There's prelims and main event.
I do have a quick question for you, Ethan.
Yep.
What's middleweight for UFC? Because
what is middleweight? The weight?
Yeah.
185.
Okay, why is it that there's no middleweight fights going? Because I've been looking at the names and what weight class they're in. I didn't see for the for 251 we didn't have any. For the fights on Wednesday there's none. I'm only asking because the one fighter that I'm actually following, Stylebender, he's middleweight, and I haven't seen any middleweight fights.
I'll say this, so there's a lot coming. We have Darren Till fighting Robert Whitaker, a.k.a. Bobby Knuckles, who is the former champ. They're fighting July 25th. Please fucking watch that fight, fellas. I love Darren Till. I really love him. Yoel Romero just fought and lost again. Jared, maybe you can wrap my memory. I don't know who he just fought and he lost. Who did he just fight? But then you got Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa versus Israel Adesanya. Middleweight.
Israel Adesanya. Yeah.
They're fighting soon. Paulo Costa for the championship. Okay. But middleweight right now is honestly pretty boring. I'm just curious. Just not really excited right now.
He's the only fighter that I could actually name right now, and that's
fair enough.
I was curious.
Fair enough. But yeah, July 25th, a great middleweight fight. It's not a championship fight, but it is the main event. Darren Till versus Bobby Knuckles, who's the former champ, at 185 pounds.
Cool.
But yeah, fellas, I think that's it for the week. We'll check in next week with our topic. I've prefaced I did want to do a college football show, but it looks like we might not be doing one right now. We might stick to soccer.
We're going to have to figure out what the college football schedules are going to look like.
Yeah, it's not looking good right now, guys.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that.
Going conference only, except for Big 12 and SEC so far.
Yeah,
and
Florida's a hot spot.
UFC more.
Oh, God, yeah, Florida's terrible.
UFC won't stop. Soccer won't stop, and we got NBA coming back, boys. So we're gonna have some NBA shows coming at you.
And NHL
we do have the UEFA lineup now.
And I will say this: so we are going to have. We don't know what the world's going to look like in a month, but we don't know network will still be here regardless of what's going on. Me and Jared. I'm already signing Jared up because I know he's game for it. We will be doing some live shows for the Champions League.
Hell yeah.
Quarterfinals, Jacob will be on them too if he's available.
We'll stream those on Twitch as well if we can.
I say this: quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. We're going to try to live stream most of them. I can't guarantee all of them, but we're going to try and coordinate our schedules. Yeah, guys, it's going to be fun. Please, if you made it this far, please check into those. We're going to have fun. It's going to be a bros hangout. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a live stream, and we're going to have some fun with those. That's really our
hopefully my
excitement.
Internet works.
Yeah,
I might have to take this whole thing downstairs and hook
it's going to be a big event. We're going to set it all up. It's going to be important
for that one.
Yeah. Truly. Please check in for that. That'll be our We Don't Know Sports featured event for the upcoming month in August. It's going to be great. And we might do a live stream of a Premier League game if it comes down to a relegation moment or a Champions League moment in the next couple of weeks.
If we get that Wolves-Chelsea to be a playing game,
then we'll live stream.
Yeah, we'll live stream that on YouTube.
We'll keep you updated. But like I said, we're about to log off for the week.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out for soccer, basketball, and a lot of fighting. Unfortunately, football is looking like it's going to be postponed till further notice. We'll do NFL check-in. We're going to play NFL to some extent, but we'll do an episode for that probably next month. Yeah. But other than that, boys, you got anything else? Any other exiting notes before we're done for the week?
No, main thing, just check out the socials. We are on Instagram and Twitter at WDK_network. Again,
underscore.
I keep saying it wrong. I made the joke yesterday. I'm just talking like Trump. Underscore.
Underscore.
But check us out over there. Also, email us at wdknetwork@gmail.com. If you want to hear anything specific on the show, if you have any questions, critiques,
please.
We are all ears.
Yep.
Also, if you want to get on the show, just reach out to us.
Email us.
To do interviews. I'm working on getting some interviews for We Don't Know Games. But sports, movies, everything else, we definitely want to get some interviews going. And
absolutely.
Last but not least, we did just purchase the rights to WeDon'tKnowNetwork.com. So we will have our one-stop shop back starting probably about 2 weeks from now for all the shows. One place to find it, and then we'll also be putting up articles as well. I know Caleb likes to write articles, so.
Absolutely. Nice. And I'm trying to post on WDK_network on Instagram at least once a week. Maybe not for all of our shows, but at least for some shows. Get in there. Please follow us on Instagram. You're on Instagram. If you're listening to the show, you have an Instagram. Follow us. Give us a follow. Give us a support. And we'll give you the content that you're looking for updates on our shows. But other than that, boys, we are out for We Don't Know Sports. Thank you for this episodic adventure. We will get back at you next week with a new topic. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace, guys.
Cool.
Titties.